The hits just keep on coming for KU football and Lance Leipold. A few days after losing to Kansas State, they now lose their biggest recruit from the city of Manhattan, Kansas.
You are Locked On Jayhawks, your daily podcast on the Kansas Jayhawks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on? Derek Johnson here. This is Locked On Jayhawks, a little bonus episode for you as JJ Dunnigan, a four-star commit, KU's highest-rated recruit in the class of 2026, has decommitted from Kansas as the bad news keeps on rolling in for KU football, especially anything that is touching the area of Manhattan, Kansas right now. I'm going to break down why this is such a big deal and what possibly went down here, as well as trying to find a little bit of hope and trying to find at least some possible silver linings, hopefully, for this if you are KU football. Let's get started right there, though. Who is JJ Dunnigan? It was a huge deal when KU landed this kid. He committed to KU during the Under Armour All-American game, in which pretty sure he had like an interception in it. And he was somebody who, local kid from the city of Manhattan, Kansas, goes to Manhattan High School. And obviously the timing of this, he was just visiting KU over the weekend. He's got a bunch of visits set up. I think it's Colorado and like Miami is some of those. It seems like other schools kept recruiting him and he kept taking visits. It seemed like even after the KU commitment. So it kind of this whole way through has felt like how really committed was this? And like, I don't know. I'll be completely honest. Like even as it was happening, there was a part of me that was like going to be a little bit surprised if he actually did wind up in Lawrence. So I don't know that this is the biggest shock in the world necessarily, but it certainly hurts. And the fact that it comes right after the Kansas State loss, again, it might be about these other schools. It might be about these other offers and maybe a monetary thing that these other schools are able to get to. Who knows? But the timing of it happening on the Monday after he was in town for them to lose to Kansas State, when he goes to Manhattan High School, where there's probably a lot of K-State fans, he probably heard a lot of his friends and people at the school giving him trash talk. I don't know, man. Again, like maybe the other reasons were the reasons why he was eventually going to decommit from Kansas. But the fact that it happened right now, I can't help but think that it didn't at least speed up the process of what happened over the weekend and stuff like that. Like, again, he might have ended up decommitting regardless of what happened on Saturday, but I don't know. I feel like that would kind of certainly be the case. At least you would think, right? Just add kind of all that up together. But very talented player who could be playing two ways at the collegiate level. Now, certainly if he came to Kansas, that was going to be the case. If he does end up going to a bigger school, I don't know. Will they have him be doing that if he's playing, at a Michigan or a Miami? If he goes to Colorado where he's visiting, then certainly we've just seen them do that with Travis Hunter. So maybe that one would kind of make sense for him too. But 93 rated 4-star. He was top 100 on the 24/7 sports ratings in the country coming out of the state of Kansas. And this is a really good recruiting class in state for KU. It's a solid recruiting class overall in the class of 2026 for KU. But the crown jewel of the class was Dunnigan. So the fact that you lose him in the commitment, it certainly does hurt. And there's no way of getting around that of like, I'm not going to, when I make the silver linings, it's not going to be like, oh, well, you're better off. No, you would have been better off with JJ Dunnigan in the recruiting class. I don't want to make that confused. He's a very good player and would have probably been good enough to hit the field right away as a true freshman at Kansas. So from that perspective, it certainly hurts. And being backed up by the loss on Saturday, it certainly hurts even more for the KU football program. So let's take a look at the overall class, where things are at and where we maybe can find a little bit of silver linings in this. This bonus episode of Locked On Jayhawks is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. NFL season's here, and we're on that sports equinox right now where you got everything going on at once. FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Of course, you can get early season college basketball futures. Darren Peterson 9-1 to win the Wooden Award, or Kansas at 22-1 to win the college basketball national title. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com. You got plenty of action going on: NHL, NBA, NFL, college football, college basketball. Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the Locked On Podcast Network. This episode of the show is also brought to you by Quo. One of the tools that helps make a huge difference for business owners is Quo, formerly OpenPhone. It's the same great business phone system you've heard me talk about before, just with a new name. And here's why it matters. Every missed call is money left on the table. When every customer counts, you need a phone system that keeps you connected 24/7. Quo is the #1 business phone system that streamlines customer communications. It works right through an app on your phone or computer, so no more carrying two phones or relying on a landline. Quo it has an AI built-in agent that can be a game changer too. It can answer after-hour calls, capture leads, and keep businesses moving even when you're off the clock. See why over 90,000 businesses trust Quo, formerly OpenPhone. Get started free and get 20% off your first 6 months at quo.com/lockedoncollege. That is QUO.com/lockedoncollege. You can even keep your existing number for free. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. Thanks again for joining us on this bonus episode of Locked On Jayhawks. So where does this put KU overall in the recruiting class of 2026, and where's maybe some silver lining? So even without Dunnigan, they are sitting on 19 commits right now, right? And I guess the question is with kind of the tailspin here, are you going to lose other players? That becomes the question. Like if this isn't just if this is a trend, if this is the start of a trend, it's a big problem for KU. If it's a one-off, they're going to be just fine. And here's my handy dandy sports research. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm going to try to explain some of this. But basically, Kansas this year with 19 commits, they have 2 in the top 500. The most that they've ever landed in the 24/7 sports era is 4 in the top 500 in one class, but that was with a class of 24 people. The most top 600 recruits they've ever landed, and this is according to the 24/7 sports composite, is 4 of them or 5 of them, excuse me, again, that class of 2010, they have 4 of them in this year's class. And then you look at top 1,000 commits. The most that KU has ever landed in a class is 13, and that's with a class of 32 people. This year, right now, they have 12. So even without Dunnigan, they're still bringing on a lot of quality here. You look at the percentage of the class that is top 1,000 commits on the 24/7 sports composite. Right now for Kansas, it's 63%. The previous high that KU has ever brought in is 53%. That was actually last year's class, the class of 2025. The second best, 52% in 2024. And it's even better this year. This is the astounding one to me. If you look at the 24, forget the ranking, are you a top 1,000 commit? Are you a top, 1,200 commit? Are you a top 800 commit or whatever? Just in terms of the pure composite grade, because some classes are made better than others. Some class, like you might have a grade that's you're the 950th player. Another year, you might have a grade that you're the 1100th player, just depending how good that class is. Well, when you look at it, this year, 18 of the 19 commits for KU on the 24/7 composite are a .8600 or higher. That's 18 of the 19. That means 94%, almost 95% of the commits for KU in this class are that range. And the importance of that, the previous high that KU has ever brought in one class is 82%. That was the class of 2024. So point being, Dunnigan is a huge loss. He would have been the crown jewel of the class. He would have most likely been, you never know, but most likely been your best player in the class. The class is still a really good one compared to past KU standards. So that is kind of the beauty of that at the very least. And I still do think there's some good players in it. And I want to get to a guy, Hunter Higgins, that I think is making himself a big fan favorite among KU football. We'll get to that next. This episode of the show is brought to you by Monarch Money. Let's be honest, most of us can't even name all our financial accounts, let alone what they're worth. Between 401ks, savings, and investments, it's easy to lose track, and that can mean leaving money on the table. That's why I started using Monarch. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. Monarch's visual dashboards and smart tools make it so much easier to understand where my money's going and how to make it work harder for me. Plus, it's color coded. They've got graphs that make it easy to kind of read everything. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarch.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarch.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. Thanks for joining us on this bonus episode of Locked on Jayhawks. JJ Dunnigan decommitting again. It's overall bad news, but like I said, it's still, as long as they can keep together the rest, and obviously the KD Jones adding to the class since we last talked about it is helpful to that loss at the very least. But if they can keep the rest together, you're sitting good. And one guy who's kind of making himself a fan favorite, Hunter Higgins, after the game, I think somebody like quote tweeted something about all the visitors that were in town for KU. And I think somebody was like, oh, like all these guys are going to decommit now after watching that. I think Hunter Higgins quote tweeted that. Hunter Higgins is he's a high ranked 3-star, nearly a 4-star Kansas kid, very talented defensive end who KU really wanted, other schools really wanted, and KU was able to land. And he kind of quote tweeted that. It was just like, we're committed to Kansas, basically. And then he posted this one as well. It's a picture of him wearing, Kansas uniform on the visit in the photo booth and stuff. And he says, can't wait. This is on X or Twitter or whatever. Can't wait to bring glory to the name on the front of the jersey. I love this state. I love this family. I love these coaches. I love these fans. Rock chalk. So in a time where you were in desperate need of some leaders to kind of step up and help you retrieve this stuff, I think Hunter Higgins is making himself a fan favorite, right? Because it's one thing to stay committed. It's another to be this publicly outward about it like Hunter Higgins is. That could help, somebody else stay committed to this as well. Like that's kind of the big question here, right? Of are they able to keep this all together? And having a guy like Hunter Higgins doing what he's doing, who is one of your better players in this class as well, like that's going to go a long way. And especially because he is an in-state kid when, that's part of this Dunnigan recruitment, potentially losing him as well is also the idea, or I guess losing him as well, is also the idea of, you're losing an in-state recruit when this has been as good of an in-state recruiting class as you've had. So the fact that Higgins is on board, and also like that's going to get people all over it too. Like he wants to play for the front of the jersey. I'll just say this, like I think Hunter Higgins going to be a very popular jersey. You might've made yourself some extra NIL money off jersey sales when you do eventually wind up in Lawrence. So certainly it'll be interesting to monitor the rest of the recruiting class for KU. Like I said, if this is a blip on the radar, they're going to be okay. But I think just the timing of everything coming after the K-State loss certainly makes it worse than it was. Like if this would have happened after, I don't know, like they beat UCF or they lose to Texas Tech, I don't think there'd be as much panic in the streets. I can understand why there is. And again, if there's another shoe to drop, then to me, that starts to signal a trend and an issue. But until that happens, it's just an unfortunate thing that Kansas is going to have to deal with. But I still think they're going to be okay in the class of 2026 in the long run. All right, that'll do it for this episode of Locked on Jayhawks. You can find our show anywhere you get your podcast, including on our YouTube page where you can like and subscribe to the show. We've got a preview episode for the KU Fort Hays State game. We'll have a postcast after the game as well. And catch you next time on LOJ.